Well, what's up, YouTube? So my name's Adam. I've been building this S13 for about 3.5 years now, almost. And my wife keeps telling me I need to make YouTube videos, so I figured, unfortunately, I mean, most of the project's done now, but I do have a couple final things to do, and that's kind of what I want my channel to be about, is more DIY, how to do stuff. But for right now, just because I had such problem with finding information for some of the stuff I was doing, I thought I would go over the car and go over some of the things in more detail than especially my last videos where I've just been uploading, you know, basic raw content that's, you know, hey, here's the car and stuff. But so let's go over things and we'll get right to it. So this is my 1993 Nissan 240SX coupe, and it's been completely reworked. We're sitting on 18-inch SSR Vienna Cries. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but in the back I'm running a 215. They're 18 by 8.5 with a 32 offset. I've got 25mm bolt-on spacers up front and 30mm spacers in the rear to make them sit like this. The previous owner had rolled the quarters pretty good, so, but they seem to sit just about flush right now. I do need to lower the car some more because we've just had it sitting high for the to get on and off the trailer. We just moved from Tennessee there all the way out here to Kent, Washington, about 30 minutes south of Seattle. Yeah, I'm running a 215 35 in the rear, 18, and in the front, they actually all four had these on them when I got them. They're a little stretched for my taste. It's a 195 35 on an 8.5. So it's a stage 3 or stage 4 there stretch. I'll have to do the math on it later, but we've got the knockoff Gondor mirrors. They're the GK Tech ones, and they're all right. You can tell they sit more of an angle than the actual Ganondorf mirrors sit, so you can kind of tell the difference just by looking. But as I didn't have mirrors when I got this thing, when I got it, it was red. And so we've painted it. It's just a spray paint job right now, and it doesn't have clear coat on it, and it's incredibly dirty from the 2,500 mile trip plus 2 months of not being washed. But you know, the paint job's okay. We did clear this one door, but it hasn't been buffed or anything, so you can kind of start to see a reflection in it there. But the rest of the car has not been cleared. That was just kind of a test. And the hood got messed up because I'll show you in a minute, the underside started to come apart, and I'd never welded before, but my roommate was a welder, so he was trying to teach me. And when I did it, it burned through the paint job I had on the hood and completely ruined it, so I'll have to redo that. But we are, got a full interior in it just about, and we even painted the door jambs and everything. I gotta get some trim on there. But we are running the NX cluster that everyone talks about. I'll show you that in a minute. I don't have the keys on me. I'll have to go grab my keys here in a minute. Oh yeah. But right now I've got the cluster working and everything. I did not have a body harness with this car, so I've had to kind of fabricate my own, and I'll go through all the wiring for you all here in a minute. I've made like 5 different harnesses for this car. But yeah, we're getting that underway. I just got these new floor mats in too. They look pretty good. I've got the brake line ran down through here actually, so later on I can add a hydro e-brake. And I also still need Z32 cables because my e-brake's not hooked up. But yeah, let me go grab the keys and we'll take a look under the hood here and in the trunk at the wiring that I've got going on. I do have the stock switches here working. The wipers only work on one setting right now, but this will work for turn signals, headlights, brights, and the hazard actually functions as well too. And then I've got some switches I integrated down here for ignition, and these are touchscreen switches for the fuel pump and ECCS, or the ECU switch power. The only thing I don't have hooked up right now is the headlight control for the pop-ups, which I'm planning on putting on this toggle switch, so it'll just be as long as you hold it, they're going up, as long as you hold it, they're going down. Just pretty simple, straightforward on that. And I'm planning on redoing these door cards too. I tried one in suede because I actually redid the headliner in suede last week. I've still got to put the visors on and some trim, but I tried a spare door panel I had with the suede and it looked pretty good. But I also did the glove box in leather, and so I was thinking I might try the leather on it as well to kind of tie in all this extra dark black on the dash and everything. Also, I've got the S13 seats in here, and S14 rear leather seats have been modified to fit. This one's kind of janky, so I've got like a cover on it because it's not too bad, but it's got some rips in it, so I'm trying to keep it from tearing anymore, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much crackless dash, all that good mess. But let me go grab these and we'll move on to the rest of the vehicle. Okay, so here we go. This is kind of where things are at right now. I ended up with the wrong MAF sensor and had to grab an S13, which didn't have the adapter because I used to have just a cone filter on here. But being in Seattle where it rains so much and everything, I'm kind of glad to have the box back on it. The engine has brand new bearings and rods in it. I picked it up off a guy in Nashville for like 200 bucks. Well, 400, but I had another engine that I sold for 200 while I was there. And everything on this engine is literally new. The only thing that's old, I reused the injectors, but I serviced them with new O-rings and new plastic tips and everything, and they seem to be working just fine, luckily. So that was reused. These hard lines were reused. You know, obviously the major hard stuff, but cleaned up. But everything else, distributors new, water pumps new, timing's new, intake's new, every sensor's new. So it's got 421 headers on it as well. We've got, it's originally actually an auto car, so it's got the auto brake booster on it, and then I've got a Z32 brake master cylinder I'm running here because I'm running Q45, or excuse me, not J30, bigger brakes there, which, well, you can't really quite see. I'll have to see if maybe I can. Here's some of what I've got going on up under there with the J30 brakes. I'm actually running S14 spindles with extended lower control arms, S13. I've been having debates about the ball joints. I'm running S14 ball joints because the taper to match the S14 spindle. But some people say you can get away with the S13 ones, others don't. We've got bigger S14 sway bars, adjustable tension link, ISR, stainless steel brake lines, and I believe they're a Musa coilover, some eBay coilover, junk coilovers, you know. But that's pretty much what's going on there. Let's see. I had to fabricate these mounts for this aftermarket radiator I got off of a guy, and I've got the dual electric fans as well. We've also got the Poly Circuit Sports Poly engine and trans bushings there mounts. I've also got the excessive power steering delete kit going on. We've got all new brake lines. We've got a new Exidy clutch slave, or excuse me, clutch master with a stainless steel line running down to a brand new OEM slave. And it's actually an SR transmission that I put a KA bell housing on so it could run off the KA, because the fifth gear is a little bit stronger in the SR transmissions. but the gear ratios are the same. The coolant overflow tank here is from Circuit Sports as well, and the wiring harness is from Wiring Specialties, which we've got. Since I didn't have the OEM chassis harness, we had to pull off of where the fuse block usually, this would plug into your fuse block, and you'll notice I don't have any fuse blocks or anything in here. And I've got to still, this is my project for today, is to clean all this mess up and get it kind of straightened away so it doesn't look like a rat's nest. But you can check my other video. Right now everything's running and functioning. I've also still got to hook up a couple of leads for the wiper motor today. But moving back then, we've got where everything comes through here on the wiring harness, Wiring Specialties engine harness. It's got the dual plugs for the if you've got a single cam or a dual cam, which I just happen to have a dual cam plug, F1 plug inside, even though this was originally an auto single cam car, I believe. And I also had a number 28 ECU laying around, which is for a manual transmission of this year and everything else. And it's actually, fun fact, the car is a 93 and the engine is a 93, so everything I have is like year period correct too. But basically it plugs in here, the factory engine harness, just like this Wiring Specialties one does. But then this would normally plug into your body harness, which I don't have. So I just took the leads and extended them off, because off of this, what you have is you have your tachometer is the white with the red, or the yellow with the red stripe. The blue is the temp sensor for the cluster. The red is the check engine light. We've also got this orange, which actually goes back where your starter signal goes. This tells the ECU to dump some extra fuel or whatever when it's actually the starter's turning over. So that's actually pretty important. This other stuff that I've got taped right here, these greens in the black ground are just for the OBD2 or OBD1 port. So if I wanted to, I could extend these out and have a working OBD port. I just haven't done it yet. But anywho, we've got some other harnesses I made. Some run back through the dash over to the NX cluster to light it up. This stuff I just put in yesterday. This is for the lighting switch. I'm still waiting on a fuse block to come in that I can mount right here, and then I'll cut these to length and mount them there with a relay or two for headlights or whatever, you know. But then this other stuff, this comes from the cluster here. Yeah, see, I've done quite a bit. But on this one we've got, let's see, we've got like door lights, we've got the charge indication light. I have to hook that up today too. That goes to the alternator. That's so your alternator will actually charge. So I still need to hook that up. But most of this stuff is just turn signal lights on the cluster and stuff that'll be hooked in with that stuff on the fuse block. Let's see, turn signal indicator. Oh, the backlighting for the cluster. So like when you flip the headlights on the switch at night, it'll turn the backlighting on for the cluster. So a lot of this stuff is actually going to get hooked with that stuff, or go over and get hooked into the little door switch, so that things like the dome light will turn on when you open the door. And you know, if I want to put a chime in it, I can have a chime go off. And that leaf blower that's blowing is really messing me up here. Hold on, let me wait for this guy with the leaf blower to stop, and we'll work our way back here. This is where all my wiring, I've still got to loom some of this and everything. This was just for testing purposes right now. The stuff I knew was gonna work, I loomed, and this stuff I wasn't sure, so I left it. But everything's working now, so I just got to re-loom and tape all this up and put this panel back on like I have over there, and just fix this janky testing wires up. Let me let Leaf Blower Man over here quit, and then we'll get into the trunk here. Oh, he's kind of, oh no, he's gone away. Anyway, that's where everything comes back in through the trunk here. And again, I got to cut some of these to length, and like this is all just to make sure everything was working before I cleaned it up. So disregard the rat's nest right now. But everything hooked up here is functioning properly. I have a switched 6 and a constant 6. The switch 6 controls these relays. The constants are obviously constants. This is for like the radio. The switch, each 3 of the switches I actually have up there are in separate power for, rather than daisy chaining them. So, because that's kind of the way this board's set up to function. So like, these are over from the key itself. So when I put the key in and turn it that first click, it unlocks the steering column. Turn it the second click and it actually kicks a relay on that kicks the gauge cluster on. The third click and fourth click, or third click, don't do anything right now. The fourth click activates a relay for the starter to turn over. And then obviously I've got the switches. So a switch up there, I hit it, it activates a relay for the ignition, and same for the fuel pump right here and the ECU up front there. So pretty much how this operates is just key switch signal. Like this is the main power for the switch. It has to have a constant power. So that's its constant power. Then the switch, when you turn it that first click or two, it redirects that power over to this wire, and it comes in on the white. The whites are the signals, and so it gets the signal and it closes the relay, and the relay pulls the big power from the battery and closes and sends it back down the yellow wire, and then that goes back out to whatever. I think this one right here I have labeled. This should be, yeah, this is, see, the cluster comes on, so this is the relay cluster here. But it does have a nice fancy cover too. I got this from Blue Seas. I'm really happy with it. I'll have to put the cover back on it here in a minute. And I've also relocated the battery to the trunk here as well. Like I said, I'm messing with wires today, so I've got the power off of it. But you can check my other videos for the NX cluster and the car running and everything like that. I also need to add in here, I would like to have a big relay. So, because I'm not sure, I'm not actually positive if these are going to drain power. Because right now, we've got the constant main battery power for the bottom one here. And then this is, I would like to have like a 100 amp relay in, triggered by the key for the accessory position. So rather than that second click just turning one relay on for the key, it could activate, bridge this, and turn all relays on. So it's just a good way to prevent power drain and stuff if it sits a long time overnight or what have you. But that's pretty much it. I'll go over, you know, more in depth on things when I get all this cleaned up, or if anybody has any specific questions on like how to wire the fuel pump or anything, leave it in the comments and I'll be sure to go over it for you. But that's actually an 18-inch spare I had off a 350Z that just happened to fit perfectly and matches my 18-inch, so we'll go with that. But that's the only red left on the car too. It's not perfect. The car's been, we coated it in bed liner from back here all the way up to the firewall, including behind the dash and everything, just because I didn't have any carpet and I wanted to keep it clean. Up under the car too, back here, I just got the ISR exhaust on the other day with some new bushings and stuff. We did coat the tank while we were up under here because I had the tank out, so even the top of the tank is coated. We've got a bigger sway bar in the rear as well, poly bushings on everything, just as up front and everywhere else, even in the knuckles up top. There's poly bushings. We are running a J30 6-bolt diff as well, with white line poly bushings. And the subframe, has solid subframe risers on it as well. Like I said, literally everything under this car. There's my new brake lines I've redone. It did come with these coilovers on it, and these blue adjustable links, which are probably eBay or some crap. But you know, for now they work. Just OEM lower control arms with new ball joints from Centra. You can actually use an 89 Centra front ball joint on the S13 rear, so that's what I've done. Got a Tommy shift knob, everything in there is new too. I've still got some power steering to hook up to, because I put the, we got rack bushings on it the other night, as well as the ISR lines for it. But I haven't hooked up the reservoir. Since I have the delete kit, I still wanted to keep fluid in it, so I wanted to keep the reservoir with fluid to just keep in there to keep from burning the rack out. And to get those bushings in, I had to pop that guy off, so I've still got to connect my steering linkage back up as well. But and put belts on today too, because I had the wrong size belt. But I think that's pretty much it. That's all I can think of off the top of my head anyway. If you guys have any questions or comments, or want me to go over any of the work I did further in detail, please let me know, because inside, I'll show you a video here in just a second, I've got a book of the printout of the FSM and everything, with all my notes on it, all my wiring diagrams I wrote down in another little booklet. So I've got all of this documented, either on Nico Club or on paper in my office as well. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We still got some body work to go and stuff I'd like to do with the body, as well as some stuff to do with the interior, including getting a sound system in it, because you know, obviously there's no sound system in it at the moment. But yeah, it's just pretty clean. We also, let's see if I can even see it, I even went through the HVAC stuff. Well, you can't see it, can you? But all the HVAC has new foam on it and everything. And the blower motor's all been gone through and cleaned and everything. So, I mean, this is probably the most in-depth I've ever gone on a car, and definitely one of the cleanest I've ever had. But hopefully, I'm just waiting on an oil pressure gauge to arrive right now, and the correct spindle nuts for the front, because I didn't have the S14 ones that you have the little flange that you hammer. And once those come in, we'll get a video on a first drive. Thanks for watching.